Well, welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, you may remember this particular machine, something we talked about late last year. This was the Lincoln Continental Coach Door Edition. Lincoln basically took their top-of-the-line Continental, sent it off to a Coachworks company who stretched this vehicle by around a handful of inches and reversing the rear doors and by giving it that suicide door effect. And they were only going to build 80 of these particular models. Well, the impressive thing is, they've already sold out. In fact, they sold out in somewhat record time, just 2 days' time from the actual announcement, which I find even more impressive. December 17th is when this vehicle was officially announced to be on offer, and by December 20th, just a handful of days before Christmas, these vehicles were actually completely sold out. In fact, the new owners are going to be actually contacted within the next several days in the first part of February, and they'll be receiving ownership of these particular machines that they paid $110,000 a piece for, coming up in summertime of 2019. Now, if you're a little bit upset that you didn't get your grubby little mitts on one of these, good news, they're going to build another handful of these coming up in the year 2020. We'll have to wait and see if there's only going to be 80 of these machines going to be on offer coming up in 2020. We'll definitely keep you in tuned. Next up on the list, a long court battle over the Mecum Auction 4 GT that actually sold at the Mecum auction in Indianapolis, Indiana. In fact, this is my personal photograph from when I visited the auction. In fact, if you want to check out the full video from my vantage point of that vehicle crossing the block, selling for 3 times what it actually sold for brand new. Now, this thing's been embroiled in somewhat of a legal situation ever since the vehicle was brought up for consignment at the Mecum auction in Indianapolis. In fact, just 6, 7, 8 days, I know myself and many other bidders were actually informed this auction was going to be available, this being this Ford GT, and Ford got wind of this and actually tried to sue for an injunction in an Indiana court, but that was actually shot down mainly on the sheer fact that the owner that was consigning the vehicle wasn't the original owner, and obviously Mecum wasn't the original owner of the machine. You may remember John Cena getting in some trouble with the Ford Motor Company, but inside of all the paperwork that you signed for owning one of these new GTs, it is told that you cannot sell this vehicle for 2 years from the date of sale, which obviously Cena had to cut a pretty big check to the folks over at the Ford Motor Company. Well, even though this deal was shot down, Ford Motor Company, after it actually crossed the block, actually sued Mecum Auctions over the situation, and early reports where they actually sued the new owner of the machine as well. Haven't heard what that owner deal went down is, but the Mecum auction deal just went down over the past couple of days, and the situation is this: anytime a new Ford GT is put up for consignment at any Mecum auction anywhere in the world, they have to go through the process of checking in with the Ford Motor Company to see if it's outside of the 2-year plan before they can even sell. I'm assuming that this isn't a Mecum-only auction. I'm assuming it's any other auction house anywhere around the world is going to have to go to the Ford Motor Company lest they want to get sued for this situation, because obviously Mecum cut them being the Ford Motor Company, a pretty hefty little check as well. All that money is supposedly going to Ford charities, so no big deal on that front. So it's an interesting little situation moving forward, especially in this particular deal. So we'll definitely keep you in tune if we hear more about this particular situation. And last up on the list, big congratulations to Mazda for doing something that hasn't been done in 26 years. The Mazda Group and the brand new RT24-P in the hands of Ollie Jarvis set a lap record and qualified #1 for the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona that just wrapped up the day of the taping of this particular program. But just a handful of days ago in qualifying, not only did they set the pole, but they also set a new lap record that has stood for 26 years. The Mazda RT24-P comes with a 2-liter turbocharged unit making 600 brake horsepower, but it beat out the Toyota Eagle GTP that made well over 1,000 horsepower at a lap record in the hands of P.J. Jones at 1 minute 33.875. Ollie Jarvis and the new Mazda actually set the new lap record, which is 1 minute 33 0.685. So big congratulations to Mazda. Now, sadly, Ollie Jarvis and the whole 77 group inside of the Mazda group there didn't have the world's greatest race. They had a handful of problems, and actually this vehicle has retired from the event in its entirety with a handful of hours left in the event. So sadly, they had the pace, but the actual longevity of the machine was still in question. Mazda really went through a lot of work, including even renting the Daytona Motor Speedway for a night session to actually do some practice runs in the night. So they went all out for this. So sadly, they didn't make it to the end. The winners inside of the 24 Hours of Daytona was the Wayne Taylor Group, the Cadillac. DPI actually ended up being the winning car in the hands of Ringer van der Zonde and also Jordan Taylor and ex-Formula One racer Kamui Kobayashi, along with two-time world champion in Formula One Fernando Alonso. Actually took the win. It was a rough race. Tons of rain. Most of the race was red flagged for the heavy amounts of rain. It was the Daytona Beach area. Actually got somewhere around 3 to 4 to 5 inches of rain over this past about 12 hours. I think it's still raining down there as we speak. So big win for those folks, and obviously a big congratulations for Mazda for taking a record that stood for 26 years. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. Also, if you'd like to check out that video that I shot from my vantage point on that Ford GT, you can check it out not only on YouTube, but on the Facebook page as well. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, meaning you're going to get the first dibs on the brand new shows soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.